All right, President Trump is on his way to Vietnam for a second summit with North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un, following up on the original summit in June of 2018, which was largely characterized as overpromised and underdelivered. In his Twitter diplomacy, the president tweeted, "With complete denuclearization, North Korea will rapidly become an economic powerhouse. Without it, just more of the same." However, as he travels to meet with Kim and again talk denuclearization, it's important to know how each side defines the end goal. For the United States, denuclearization is based on a concept known as CVID, complete, verifiable, irreversible denuclearization of the North. Let's take a look at what that means. We're going to start with complete. That means Pyongyang needs to identify all of its uranium and plutonium enrichment programs. Both of these give a path to nuclear weapons, with plutonium being the more advanced weapons fuel. Verifiable, in the United States understanding, has always involved outside weapons inspectors. That could mean United Nations weapons inspectors or officials from the International Atomic Energy Agency. But any inspections would require trust that the North Korean regime isn't still hiding secret weapons or production facilities. Irreversible means that a total dismantling of the country's nuclear energy program so that it can prevent any nuclear forays into nuclear weapons testing. It's not clear if the country's ballistic missile program would also be part of the CVID process, but these are just some of the very tricky issues that were always thought to be worked out before a meeting between the rogue regime and the U.S. president. And as President Trump insists, the North agreed to denuclearization at the Singapore summit. Well, actually, the regime never agreed to just its denuclearization. North Korea is looking to denuclearize the entire peninsula, including removal of the U.S. nuclear umbrella, as it's called, protecting the South. Now, the U.S. hasn't actually stationed any nuclear weapons in South Korea since the end of the Cold War, which split the countries along this line more than 25 years ago, meaning North Korea likely still sees any military presence, any American military presence in South Korea as a nuclear threat, essentially leaving the Trump administration with a choice between peace and the defense posture in Asia that it has held for more than half a century. Now, with reports that the pair may declare an official end to the Korean War, the future of any U.S. military presence in South Korea could actually be in serious jeopardy. Joining me now live from the site of the summit in Hanoi, Vietnam, is NBC News chief global correspondent Bill Neely. Bill, this is definitely a question of what are the expectations from this summit. There are a lot of global observers who say, while there may be some progress made with the North Koreans, this seems to be more show than action.
Yeah, Ali, and you know, it's a very long time since I've heard any U.S. administration official use those words together: complete, verifiable, irreversible. And remember, they also used to be accompanied by the word immediate. Well, expectations have been lowered. President Trump yesterday at the White House saying, hey, I'm in no rush. As long as there's no testing, I'm happy. Well, that's not what will make any expert or anyone in the U.S. administration or State Department happy. Let's remember the Singapore summit ended with a vague declaration to work towards the denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula. And as you've said, that means different things to different sides, because for North Korea, it means the removal of the U.S. umbrella and the removal of U.S. troops from South Korea. And since the summit, well, there's been no evidence that Kim is dismantling his nuclear program, no evidence that he even intends to. In fact, U.S. officials say he has increased his nuclear fuel, he's still producing missiles, the centrifuges are still spinning, there's been no inventory, no evidence that he even wants to make an inventory or show it. There's no timetable, no roadmap. So there are plenty of reasons here, Ali, to be very, very skeptical. And as I said, expectations for this summit are certainly being lowered.
So one of the things that the South Korean president continues to float is the idea of the end, the official end of the Korean War. They are still two nations at a state of war. What does it mean when we're hearing reports that President Trump and Kim Jong-un might decide to end the Korean War? Can those guys do it themselves? And can the president, what's his role in this?
Yeah, it's interesting. So they could make the political declaration of the end of the Korean War. But that's just the door that will open to a peace treaty, and the peace treaty has to involve China, because China was involved in 50 to 53 in the Korean War. And then you get into very complicated areas about if there's a peace treaty, what does that mean for the presence of 28,000 US troops in South Korea? What happens to the demilitarized zone? And remember, China's goals and North Korea's goals regarding American troops in South Korea coalesce. In other words, they want them out of there. So they can have a peace declaration. That is all very, very nice, and it sounds terrific, and it might lead President Trump closer to a Nobel Peace Prize. But the peace treaty is much more complicated. And as you say, it's still not clear whether that requires Congress's involvement. We simply legally, that's a grey area.
Hey, MSNBC fans, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down there and click on any of the videos here to watch the latest interviews and highlights. You can get more MSNBC for free every day with our newsletters. Just visit msnbc.com/newsletters to sign up now.